Hello, I'm Reverend Rick, and it is my honor to be with you today. We really hope that this video is a blessing to you. And if it is, please consider making a donation. People watch our videos locally when they cannot necessarily come to church throughout the United States and the world. So please join us and click the link below and make a donation. Thank you, and let this be a blessing to you.
Well, today's a great day for me at CSA because my favorite singer and my favorite speaker are both here on the same day. So that's an amazing thing. Tama Kieves is a treasure for us. I actually forgot to print out her biography, but here's what I remember. She is a graduate of Harvard, top of her class at Harvard, joined a prestigious law firm, was on partner track, and realized, this isn't who I am. This isn't who I am. Who I am is a person who wants to write and to coach and to teach people how to find that source that is within them and unleash that source. She's one of the people, you know, credentials don't mean a whole lot to me, although she certainly has some prestigious ones. But what means something to me is someone who understands how spirit works. Somebody who understands God's operating system, whatever you call that entity. That there is a way to have the bounty that God has laid out for us be welcomed into our lives. She understands how that works. And not only does she understand it, but she's able to teach the rest of us how to do it. And that's what makes a difference for me. It's not somebody who knows about stuff. It's about somebody who knows stuff because they've been through stuff. Those are my teachers. The ones who have been through the hard times and gotten up and soared. And then they bring us with them. So will you join me in welcoming Tama Kieves?
Soaring from that. Wow. Wow. Oh, and you all look so beautiful. Wow. So I guess I wanted to start off by asking a question to begin with, but is it me or has like life ratcheted up a notch? Yeah. Right? Like you wishes it was me? Like everybody you know is going through some major uncertainty, or you're going through some uncertainty, and the world is going through some uncertainty. I think it's as though the universe is saying, the grace period is now over. You know, we know these things. We know this love inside us. We know this genius inside us. We know a mission inside us, dreams inside us, and it's time to use them. It's time to give our gifts to the world. It's time to do that. So I want to talk a little bit about what stops us from listening to that inner voice inside us. Because for me, I think what this path is it's getting out of our heads and being led. It's getting out of our heads and being led. Because whatever you're going through, if you're going through some kind of uncertainty, I know there's already a path inside you. I know there's already a path. It's about listening moment to moment to that path. And by the way, in the world, I think we are living in wildly inspired times. And I think that everyone here is a wildly inspired answer to these times. And we are meant to do that, right? And so I want to talk about what stops us from following that inner voice, that love, that genius inside us. And here's one thing I know. If you are not listening to yourself, you are listening to somebody else. If you're not following your inner voice, you're not following your heart, you're listening to somebody else. So whose voice are you listening to? Are you listening to the voice of the media, the voice of the culture, the voice of a family member? If you're not listening to your heart, your soul right now, who are you listening to? Many of you know my story, but I will tell some of it. I was listening to my mother. That's who I was listening to, right? So I knew when I was young that I wanted to write. I liked writing, and I took creative writing in high school, and the creative writing teacher was gorgeous. So this was a sign, right? Like, oh, this looks good. And so I went home to share this phenomenal news with my family that I'd found my calling, I'd found my dream. But I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, to an Orthodox Jewish family. And if you said, I found my calling, I want to write, nobody said Mazel Tov. Nobody. It was more like, oi. Because I basically could have said, I found my dream, I want to start a meth lab. It would have been the same thing. It would have, because in my mother's mind, selling drugs, selling your body to the night, and being creative. All the same boat, you're all going to live under the same bridge, right? You know, so my mother said, you're going to write? You're going to write? You're going to starve, you're going to write. And that was the go for your dreams talk. That was basically the extent of it. Then being a reasonable woman, she said something like, what, you can't get a job? You'll write on the Sundays, right? And most of us got that same advice, didn't we? Different accent. But most of us got that same advice. Don't do what you love. Don't do what moves you. Don't do what Spirit is whispering to you right now. Stay safe. Be practical, right? And one of the reasons I've been speaking around the country is because what I want us all to know is that the safe path, the only safe path, is listening to your heart. The only safe path is listening to your spirit. Now more than ever, it's not safe to deny that genius and explosive intelligence inside you, right? But I didn't know any of that back then, and I went off to law school. And I got accepted to Harvard Law School, and I graduated with honors from Harvard Law School. And as you might imagine, my mother was very proud. She was bragging in every synagogue for all she was worth. My little girl, I don't want to tell you. Let me tell you. Again. And you know how like maybe you've been in a situation in your life where you're doing the right thing or what other people think is the right thing or what you're supposed to do. So I was on partnership track in a major law firm, and I felt so unhappy, and I felt really, really empty. Because if you're not listening to your spirit, if you're not listening to your soul, it does feel painful. And sometimes that pain that you're feeling right now might be your spirit telling you something or leading you somewhere else, whatever that is, right? And so thank God, I was in so much pain, and thank God a friend of mine said something amazing. He said, think about it. If you've been this successful doing something you don't love, what could you do with what you love? Right? Isn't that great advice? Thank you. Thank you. That was the basis of my first book, that line, and it's just, I love that, and I just thought, you know what, you get one life. I want to know where this goes. I want to know where it goes if I follow my love. And so I stepped out and I left my law firm without a plan, and I just decided I'm going to follow that inner voice and see where this goes. Which, by the way, my new book is called Thriving Through Uncertainty, and I am totally an expert. Because if you leave one life with no plan, you are an expert in thriving through uncertainty. Yes. And people always think, that, well, you must have had money, because you were practicing law, you must have had money. But let's be real, it's very expensive to be unhappy. It's very expensive. There is much wine to be bought. There's therapists and healers, and it's just expensive to be unhappy, right? So I often get asked the question, I'm a coach, and I coach entrepreneurs and artists and visionaries and leaders and anybody who will pay me, and I'm often asked the question, but how do I do this? How do I follow it? What's the steps, How do I get from A to B to C, whatever it is I want to do? And what I know is that this is not a path that you're going to figure out. It's not a linear path. What I tell all my clients is, you can't plan an inspired life. You can't plan an inspired life. You're not going to see it. That divine intelligence is so much more unimaginable than we can fathom, right? So we can't see where we're going to figure it out, we're going to let it out, right? So when I first left law, I wrote my first book. That was my dream, and I wrote my first book, This Time I Dance. It took me 12 years to write that first book. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, I'm not going to that workshop, you know? I don't got that kind of time. I'm going to the 3 easy steps, you know? But I always tell people, it took me 11 years to heal. 11 years to trust this universe, 11 years to believe I could have good things, 11 years to forgive myself, 11 years to believe these principles, and 1 year to write a book, right? And so if you are in a situation where you feel like things are taking so long or things aren't happening the way you want, it's not as quick as you want, please keep in mind, many of us are unraveling old beliefs. We are doing so much. This is not a linear path. You're doing so much at once, right? So when I finally finished writing that book, I thought, okay, how do you get it published? I don't know anything. I was following this inner voice and following my list, like the books say, you know? And I read about publishing, commercial publishing, and self-publishing, and I didn't know anything. And so I asked my inner voice, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And I kept hearing this inner voice. And all it said was, just put it in the river. Just put it in the river. Isn't that beautiful? And what the heck does that mean? Like really, like guidance isn't hard enough to hear as is now, like you have to interpret it, you know? But I kind of knew what it meant. I knew it meant self-publish the book. Just get it out there. Put it in the stream some way, somehow. You know, put your own money into it. And why is the answer always you have to put the money into it? You know, why is that always the answer? I'm always like, can I get another answer, please? You know, but I didn't know anything about distribution or marketing or anything. You know, so this was a scary answer. But I just thought, okay, I'm going to follow this voice. I've listened to this voice all these years. I'm going to follow it all the way. And the second that you decide that you will follow your inner voice all the way, no questions asked, the second you decide, I'm going to align with this dream, you will meet the most judgmental person. You will. I don't know why. They're there. But I went to an ex-boyfriend's house for a Passover dinner, and I sat down next to this woman, and she was my mother on steroids. And she's pounding bad wine all night, right? And she starts grilling me all night. She's like, so you're gonna publish a book, and you know nothing about marketing, and you know nothing about distribution, and you're putting your own money into this. You're very ambitious, right? Which means that's a code, right, for you're a nut, you know, step away from my kids. And you know, I don't know if you know anything about the Passover ceremony. It's all about the exodus of the Jews. The exodus of the Jews. I never really got that ceremony until that night. That night I got it. That night I got it. I was like, let my people go. Let my people go. Because I thought, what am I supposed to tell this woman? Am I supposed to tell her, oh no, I have a plan. I have a plan. I'm going to put it in a river. That's my plan. Or am I going to tell her, oh, don't worry, I've been following an inner voice for 12 years. It's very nice. Because you know how, like, in rooms like this, we actually pride ourselves on that. Right? In rooms like this, we pride ourselves of hearing an inner voice. You talk to someone normal, not so much. Right? Not so much. Right? But I finally did it. I finally got the guts, and I finally self-published my first book, This Time I Dance. And it started spreading through word of mouth. It hit the bestseller list of the Denver Post bestseller list. It hit the business bestseller list just through word of mouth. It was starting to spread. And then 4 months after I self-published, I got an email out of the blue that said, your fairy godmother has arrived. Your fairy godmother has arrived. If you got an email like that, you would probably think it was spam, right? You know, come on, you would think Russian girls are waiting for you. Make her happy tonight. Right? But I opened the email anyway. And it was from a vice president of marketing and publicity for Random House. And she was in her own career transition and struggling, and she was looking at different books on Amazon or whatever, and she somehow found my self-published book. And she wrote to me and said, "This is the best book I've ever read on finding your calling. I love this book." And she got it to the publisher I had always dreamed of. It was Torture, part of Penguin. She got it to the president of the company. I would have settled for a janitor. I mean, it's like I don't care, just get it in the office, you know. She got it to them, and they bought the book. And they bought the book exactly the way that it was. They kept the exact writing. I changed maybe 10 sentences out of the entire book. They kept the exact title. I had designed it myself, and I like purple, so I had purple ink. I didn't know what I was doing, and they kept the purple ink. As an unknown writer, I would never ever have started off where I started off had I followed a conventional path. Had I listened to everybody else that's giving you all that advice and all the experts that are giving you all the advice, and I followed that, I would never have ended up where I ended up. And that's why I mean when I say you can't plan an inspired life. Every one of us has this inspired genius in us, this connection, and it happens in crazy ways, right? How can you plan that? How can you think, let's see, I'm going to have a meltdown for 12 years. Some other woman's going to have a meltdown at the end of those 12 years. We're going to hook up, and that's my business plan. That's what I've got. What bank is going to go, "Oh, that sounds excellent, Miss Kieves. We will sign up on that," right? So, but again, you can't plan an inspired life. There's something calling to you in this moment, whatever that is, whether it's in your health, your money, your whatever it is. There's a moment-by-moment path, right? I always used to end my talks with that story because it's my best, it's my best example, and it means a lot to me. But I want to talk a little bit more about thriving through uncertainty because that's what my latest book is about. And what I want us to know is that most of us are thinking, well, when that money comes in, then it'll be okay. If I just got that check, it'll be okay. If I just got that book deal, it'll just be okay. If I just met the love of my life, then it will be okay. If I could just get that love of my life out of my house, then it will be okay, right? It's always somewhere else. It's always someplace else. It's always someday else. But thriving is about here and now, and the spiritual life is about thriving here and now because this is our lives. This is it here, right? And so thank you. Thank you. It's not someday. And by the way, that's how we get anywhere else, right? So I have a concept in my new book about a video game because I don't know if you ever have this experience where you feel like you're going through the same thing again, or you have the same fear again, or it got harder, and it's like, how did it get harder? Didn't I see enough therapists about this, Have I not journaled enough and killed enough forests about this one issue, But I've heard that in video games, when you succeed, when you actually grow and you succeed, you go to the next level. And at the next level, it's harder. At the next level, the enemies have shifted now, and the rules have changed, and it's yours to master it again. And so I think in the spiritual life, it's the same thing. We're expanding now. If things are getting tougher, it's because we're expanding now. And because we're being asked to use our spiritual principles in this now. Can you love here now? Can you choose love instead of fear at this level? Right? So, and so what I want to talk about, just to give you an example of that, is something that happened when my second book, Inspired and Unstoppable, came out. But behind the scenes, when that book first came out, I was going to do all these things to get it out there, right? And like, maybe you've had that situation where you think, this time I'm going to get it right. This time I'm going to get it right. I'm going to nail it. I'm going to make up for every mistake I've ever made in my whole life. good luck with that, right? You know. But so I had all these plans of things I was going to do, and then of course everything started going haywire. Everything started falling out of control. The assistant I had quit. My partner got really, really ill, so we were dealing with that. We missed all kinds of deadlines and all kinds of opportunities that I thought I was going to have, I didn't have, and so I was just getting more and more scared because the deadlines were coming, and I was scared. And if you met me at a dinner party, I'd be like. Which is so attractive. So attractive. Especially in a self-help author. A self-help author who's just written a book called Inspired and Unstoppable, right? So my friend said, okay, you're a nut. You need to go see this healer, right? So she tells me about this healer. I don't know anything about the healer, but you know, you're scared you'll do anything, right? So I'm driving up to the mountains because that's where I heard the healer lives, right? So I'm driving up to the mountains like, oh my God, I hope she can help me. I drive up and I arrive and she is in a yurt. Okay, I am from New York City. I don't know from yurts. Okay, a yurt, in case you don't know, is a round tent. Okay, so she's sitting in this round tent. And she starts saying in a very nice healer's voice, like, what would you like to shift? What would you like? Is there anything you'd like? I'm in my New York mind. I am crazy at this point. I'm like, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I'm sure that poor healer thought, oh my God, there is not enough sage on the planet. I am not going to be able to cleanse this space ever. I'm going to have to move now. But she did this really cool ritual with me, and she took me on her property on the mountains, and there was this stream on her property, and she had me stand in the center of this stream, and she had me look downstream, and all the water was splashing and splashing and splashing and hitting the rocks, and she told me, those are all the opportunities you've missed. This is, oh look, this, you missed that deadline, oh you missed this thing, oh you missed that thing, you know, and oh you had that creative idea you never pursued, oh look, someone else is making $1 million on that. I'm like, no, you know, and it's all going, and she's like, how are you feeling right now? And I was thinking, like, I should have researched healers, but I do not know how this is helping me, but anyway, it's splashing and splashing, all I could have done and should have done, and she asked me, how are you feeling? And I finally screamed out, I'm feeling out of control. It was like all out of control. And then I finally got it. It was out of my control. And I finally got that moment of realizing, you know what? It was out of my control, but I could do what I could do. And that's it. I could do what I could do. And all of a sudden it was just this moment of self-forgiveness, of just kindness, of like sometimes life is out of your control. And all you can do is what you can do. And then she had me turn around and face the stream coming this way, and it was rushing at me and rushing at me and rushing at me. And she said, this is your life, and this is the universe, and it's giving you gift after gift after gift, and chance after chance after chance, and life after life, and this is money that's coming, and people that's coming, and gifts that are coming. It's never, do you think it's ever going to stop? That's the nature of life. It keeps giving and giving and giving. And it was just this amazing miracle. Because for me, I'd been so looking at the past of what I should have done and could have done and would have done that I wasn't present. And sometimes we think it's the past that creates the future. It's not your past that creates the future. It's this present moment that creates your future. That's the only thing that creates the future. The problem is, we're not present in the present moment. Right? It's so, a lot of times we might have gotten disappointed, or we might have gotten thrown off, or we might have gotten upset, and we might have shut our hearts down, and we might have stopped believing in life again. And we might be not trying anymore, believing. And for me, what a life of thriving is, and a spiritual life, is we're the ones who will dare to open our hearts again. We're the ones who will dare to open our hearts again and again and again, and to trust and to believe and to dare yet again. And so I'm going to ask us today, maybe in your day-to-day, to think about, where did you shut down? Where did you stop believing? And can you open up to the possibility that love is still here and still giving and still providing? It's just that we haven't opened up to it. So I'm going to read you something, but before I do, it talks a little bit about a principle from A Course in Miracles. I've taught A Course in Miracles for over 25 years. Hey, that's the source of everything good in my life. And now I forgot the principle. No, got all into that. But it's a great principle that says, who you think you are is a belief to be undone. Who you think you are is a belief to be undone. And what that means is the part of you that thinks you're small, or the part of you that thinks you're limited, or you're too old, or you're too broken, or you don't have the education, or you shouldn't have married so-and-so, or whatever story we tell ourselves. Who you think you are is a belief to be undone. Because what it's really saying is there is a power and a magnificence and a love and a genius that is inside you at all times that wants to come through you at any single time. Who you think you are is a belief to be undone. So I'm going to read you this section from Thriving Through Uncertainty, and it's talking a little bit about that video game. A Course in Miracles teaches that who you think you are is a belief to be undone. You think you can be stopped. You think you can be diminished. You think you can fail. But that's the game. You can never lose. You already have everything you need. You have this crazy alchemical love within you, and it's yours to give in any situation, which changes every situation and even changes you as you give it. You do not walk alone. Will you choose to listen to the disconnected, smallest version of yourself or the highest allegiance of your spirit? You have a choice. Choose love. Choose again. Choose now. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. Thank you. I want to share with you, it's one of my favorite quotes to close. I want to share with you, it's my favorite quote. It's attributed to Jesus from the Gnostics. And it says, if you bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will destroy you. It's a little gift of guilt from my people.